for the lessons. And that's what our lesson is focused on this morning. How our memories define us and how we can define or redefine our memories. As I noted last week, there's an abundance of research on how memories are made, from the neurological encoding and recall processes to the effects of our individual and collective mental and emotional filters on our memories, to improving our declarative memory and what causes the loss of memory, and how we can heal, dissolve, or even remove traumatic, toxic, or PTSD types of memories. But I'm going to spare you from wading into the complexities of all the latest science, because I went down a number of rabbit holes and looking for clarity and only getting more complexity. However, the good news is there are a number of agreed upon findings that can address this morning's focus. Specifically, understanding how our memories define us. Number 2, learning how to redefine our existing memories that no longer serve us. And number 3, increasing our capacity to more consciously form memories going forward. So, in other words, as we hold a broader and more balanced view of the world, we can actually control the memories that are going in based on how we experience the events in our lives. So let's begin with understanding how our memories define us. From a scientific or psychiatric perspective, one psychiatrist said, our memories create our worldview in ways we hardly realize. Like a character made of Legos, we're built of blocks of memory that all fit to form our consciousness. Of course, our third unity principle, I think, in essence the law of mind action, also offers insights in that our memories can provide a foundation for particular thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and attitudes that then create or determine our life experiences. And they do that by establishing the mental, emotional, spiritual filters through which we interpret and assign meaning to the events and circumstances in our lives. When things happen, they have no meaning until we assign that meaning. And we do that based on our memories, which give us our understanding of our life and the world. As the opening of the Buddhist Dhammapada explains it, the qualities of our mind determine our experiences, including whether or not we suffer. Another way of looking at it suggests that our memories form the cumulative record of our lives. Not the actuality of our lives, of course, but the evolving narrative that defines us. All based on the stories that we've created and repeatedly told ourselves, or have been told by others, that reflect our reactions to the ever-unfolding events and circumstances of our daily living, including, and very importantly, our often subconscious emotions that are connected to those memories. In fact, it is these subconscious connected emotions that actually give memories their charge, in essence, their capacity to associate and trigger disparate memories through related emotional responses. I remember doing patternology with Ted Lane when he was alive, and he helped heal memories by following feelings. So he would have you describe something that you knew caused you discomfort, and then he would have you get in touch with, so what are all the feelings you're having in that moment? And then the next question would be, and when was the last time before that you had that cluster of feelings? And what was amazing to me was that the events could be totally different from one another, and yet that cluster of feelings continued. And so that he would just take you back and back and back until he could dissolve that cluster of feelings, and you would be healed of the pain of those memories. It was an awesome process. We also know that our memories of past events play a key role in how our brains model what's happening in the present and predict what's likely to occur in the future. Recent studies have revealed that our memories are actually less involved with trying to remember, though that sounds like an oxymoron, but they're not really there. They're figuring out that we hadn't created memory in order to remember things for memory's sake, but better to help us do better next time. That the purpose of our memories is to help us learn. To say, oh, that didn't work, so I'll try something else. In other words, our memories are central to our ability to learn and grow. And that leads us to our second focus, learning how to redefine or rewrite or edit or whatever word you want to put in there, existing memories that no longer serve us. So how do we know when a memory no longer serves us?
We stay stuck.
Pardon?
We stay stuck.
We stay stuck. Well, the first clue was that it's attached to the hip to suffering, right? Yeah. A memory that no longer serves us causes us to suffer whenever it comes into our consciousness. In other words, it triggers negative thoughts and emotions like pain and self-doubt, self-judgment, fear, abandonment, etc. It causes us to suffer. So if we're suffering, clearly that's not a memory that's serving our highest good. The second clue is, as Colleen suggests, is that suffering more often than not leads to self-sabotaging thoughts and behaviors. In essence, actions that hinder rather than support our growth and our fulfillment, and definitely our highest good, and keep us stuck in that error consciousness and repeating the past over and over again. But there's good news here too. All this suffering and negative consequences are actually a gift, a sign, an invitation to wake up and make a different choice. When the pain of our present conditions exceeds our fear of the unknown, we're more likely to take that leap of faith and try something new, try something different, in essence, to grow beyond where we've been stuck. Fortunately, all of us here already know about Unity's third basic principle that I spoke of earlier, that I think. It makes us aware that our thoughts determine our experiences, and more importantly, we can choose our thoughts. If we want to change our lives, we need to change our thinking. Learning to redefine our memories is much more difficult when one still believes that life happens to us rather than through us, right? I mean, it feels like that's just what is, and so until we make that breakthrough and understand the power of our thinking, it gets difficult to change our lives. But when we have that awareness, like we all do here, even though, like me, we don't practice it all the time, sometimes I feel like life has happened to me, but then I wake up pretty quickly and look at it through different eyes. So with that awareness, we can easily surmise the following facts about memories. First, our memories are not fixed and permanent. In fact, they change every time we recall them, for the better or for the worse, depending upon how we handle them. For example, we might reject an alternative explanation for something that's happened and has upset us because our original interpretation confirms our previous assumptions and judgments. Anybody ever follow, it made us right. I knew that was going to happen and it happened. And I don't want to move off of that because changing that position might be embarrassing. To admit that I actually misread the whole situation is not often something that people want to do. Most of us would rather be right than happy. In fact, I hear people all the time when I ask them, would you rather be right or happy? They go, but being right is what makes me happy.
Oh my God.
So instead of changing, admitting we were wrong, listening to the other evidence, in fact, what we typically do is go out and seek more evidence to confirm the position we've already taken. On the other hand, when we're willing to revisit a memory with an open mind, when we're willing to be wrong, we're more able to hear another person's experience of the same event. And with that new information, we can gain a deeper and different understanding of what happened. We might discover that we've made an erroneous assumption, misinterpreted someone's intentions, or were given faulty information to begin with. Looking with new eyes and this new understanding, we end up redefining, rewriting that memory. We correct the misperceptions, and then we're able to become more aware and we're more prepared to go forward with new possibilities. That's a wonderful thing about when we heal a memory, is instead of making our world smaller, it expands our perspective and the possibilities we have. The third aspect about memories is that the past is over. We can't change it, but we can change how we remember it. It's related to the first principle, but there are two basic approaches to dealing with a painful memory. For example, having been betrayed or having experienced a deep and painful loss. The first way to handle that is to avoid the memory, to stuff the feelings and try to move on, try to keep ourselves busy so we don't have to feel the feelings. That's something our culture does a lot because we're not comfortable with grieving, and so we just try and ignore it and move forward. And what that creates is that those feelings, those challenges pop up at the most inopportune times, spoiling positive moments, getting in the way of us being able to accomplish things, and basically just sabotaging our good. The other thing that they can do is just lie under the surface, and they prevent us from trusting or risking for fear of being hurt again. Again, there's an alternative way to view that, and that's to face the memory and look for the light in the darkness, like the lessons we've learned, again, from Denise's song, the hidden blessings that we discover, the strengths that get revealed in our seeming brokenness, new relationships that get seeded in the process. We can also realize the power of forgiveness and the gift of divine grace, realizing that releasing the past frees us and surrendering into grace heals us. When we take that approach, again, it expands our perspective in our world by adding new meaning to the memories. In essence, so we tell the story and then we add, and the moral of the story is, or, and the lesson I learned from that is, or, and now I know I'm stronger than I thought I was. Or, and now when I miss him or her, I shift my focus to all the love and joy and positive memories that we've made together. So we edit that memory, so when it comes up, we shift it to focusing on the good that came from it. These kinds of rewrites allow us to integrate all of our memories into our lives as positive lessons that have helped us grow and mature both emotionally and spiritually. And finally, when we learn how to redefine and rewrite or reinterpret our memories, we're free to create an unprecedented future, which brings us to our third and final focus, increasing our capacity to more consciously form, in essence, to choose our memories going forward. How many of you thought you could choose your memories? Really? Everybody should have your hand. You can choose your memories going forward. We have the power to determine how we're going to experience life. We can see it happening to us, we can see challenges, we can feel helpless, we can feel like a victim, or we can be the creators of our lives, right? We write the script. Whatever life gives us, we can turn it into lemonade, as the saying goes. When we understand that we can change our memories of the past, we realize that we can create our future. We are in charge of how we experience life. And even when things seemingly happen to us, we trust that we have the wisdom and the capacity to make decisions that will support our continued growth and highest good. In essence, very quickly we can say there's got to be a lesson in here. There's got to be a blessing in here. I know that everything in life is a blessing if I look for it. And when we come at it from that way, a way forward is made revealed. Whenever I say that, I'm reminded of the story that I won't go into totally, but most of you have heard it, and the punchline is there must be a pony in here somewhere. When you're digging through all kinds of horse manure, you can affirm there's got to be a horse in here. Additionally, the more we practice mindfulness, the more we're able to observe and choose our thoughts, which is what mindfulness is. It's about becoming aware, having our observer self on so that we're aware of our awareness. The more we can heal, learn, and grow from our past memories and help create positive future memories. That process improves our critical thinking skills. We don't just accept things for what they are. We are willing to take things apart and examine different ways of looking at things. It increases our openness to new ideas, and it expands our capacity to hold two or more disparate thoughts in our minds at the same time, which is one of the measurements for being intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally mature. To be able to realize that there can be a both-and situation allows us to expand our consciousness immensely. When we do these things, we begin to see the world through the lens of truth. We recognize the love of God as the very force of life, the universe's bias for good, the Christ essence at the core of each and every individual, and our ultimate oneness with all of creation. Memories that are formed through that lens, imagine if we kept that lens active and in place as we live our daily lives, see separation for the illusion that it is, and recognize that the opposite of love isn't hatred but fear, which triggers compassion rather than a reaction or fear back, and a desire for justice and the surrender of our egos to true divine essence that is the truth of who we are. So as we do the healing work of rewriting the memories of our wounds and sufferings, and then focus on living more consistently into a mindful future, we ultimately realize that we are now and forevermore one in the love of God. Namaste. Done so, I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Maybe roll your shoulders to release any tensions. If it's comfortable, put your feet flat on the floor so you can feel the groundedness of Mother Earth. Again, if it's comfortable, have your hands relaxed but open in your lap, reflecting your openness to the power of Spirit moving in and through you. As you. And as you close your inner eyes, begin to focus on your breath. It's an amazing gift of breath that can ground us in an instant. Breathing in, God is here. Exhaling, I am home. Presence, in this sacred oneness, resting in the healing love of God. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways of healing memories. It sort of jump skips over the facts and go straight to the truth. That in actuality, there's only one of us here. That any unforgiveness, any resentment, any grudge I hold against another has more effect on me than on them. Unforgiveness is a binding force that keeps us stuck in old perspectives, stuck in our pain, and stuck in the suffering we create when we create a story about that pain, and then feed it and justify it, all the while losing precious moments of a life that could be free and creative. So this morning I invite you to allow your hearts to break open in forgiveness. Bring to mind any individual or situation or memory that is keeping you in suffering and pain, and willingly bring it into the light of this power of God's grace, which is forgiveness. Acknowledging that there is more to whatever story it is than what we know. Acknowledging that we're all doing the very best we know how, given the circumstances and lessons of our lives. And remembering that life is too short to waste any of it in the sadness and pain of separation. And so we're going to go into a moment of silence where I invite you to just allow, again, the faces, the situations, the memories that have been stuck in your heart to now break through the openings where you've allowed it to be broken open, where you face the pain and release it into the healing love of Spirit in the silence. feeling the light shine through those cracks that we've allowed to open in our hearts. And feeling the power of God's grace dissolving the remnants of painful past memories. We now bring our attention back to this room and this time, feeling lighter. And recognizing that with that lightness comes a greater capacity for us to experience and be loved in the world. And so for this truth and for this community that makes it safe for us to break our hearts open, we are grateful. And we say thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
And when you're ready, open your eyes and be here now.